Welcome back, Fragrance Fiend here today with a sample of Smoke by Perfumer H, the eau de parfum released in 2016. I believe this would have to be the most expensive perfume I've ever reviewed. Except for Ecstatic by Clive Christian, which was only available in 50ml. However, the 50ml of this one is a lot more cheaper, but we'll get into that a little later. Very small description for this one. The brand simply says, the smell of the air after burning wood is infused with damp earth, wild herbs, and clean spices to create a masterfully unique amber. So let's get straight into the note breakdown. In the top, you have geranium from Egypt, cistus and coriander seed from Russia, with a heart of chamomile from Morocco, roses from Turkey, and cardamom. Lastly, with a base of birch tar, agar wood, cedar wood, santal, Mysore, benjoin, and frankincense from Somalia. Let's give it a spray. Opening is absolutely incredible. This is one where I didn't really fully appreciate it the first time I smelt it, but the second time I sprayed it on, fell in love with the opening. It is both resinous and smoky, it's woody, it's incense overload. There's actually so much depth and complexity going on here. The fragrance almost has this type of aura about it. It's kind of hard to put into words, but it just has this very thick, textured element to it. I really don't get too much geranium. Often it's associated for its freshness, and this does give it a tiny bit of a lift. Coriander is also prominent, but really the base notes just creep right into that opening. Alongside that spiciness from the cardamom and that sweet element from the rose. I wouldn't say there's necessarily a huge transformation in the progression of the scent because it's a tiny bit clustered but also very well blended. No particular note really overtakes the fragrance except perhaps the birch tar, which is somewhat reminiscent of Patchouli 24 by Le Labo, while the more darker elements are almost reminiscent of Oud 27, which I have smelt before and hoping to do a review on very soon. It is somewhat hard to draw a direct comparison to any other fragrance out there because this one does use a large array of natural materials, which a lot of brands seem to be afraid to do nowadays, which kind of explains the price, which we'll also get to in a bit. As it dries down, the smokiness does begin to fade quite a bit and it does become pretty earthy. That's when it becomes a little more stripped back and more centered around the agar wood and the more resinous elements. I mean, I can even chuck Luxor in there as well as a tiny bit of a reference, but this doesn't have the same level of smokiness, but definitely that earthy, resinous, oud-like texture. The fragrance itself has a very similar DNA to a lot of Aesop fragrances, but on steroids. But I thought I'd just go for the bestseller and just go in for the attack, but there is really not a whole lot to attack about this one, and even though that price is just astronomical, 50ml I guess is somewhat justifiable, but even then that goes for $357. So the price of the 100ml is $1,237. A ridiculous price, but they say that each perfume bottle is hand blown and engraved in gold. That's all the details I really have about it, so I don't know how many people really care about the quality of the actual bottle. I mean, I do always take it into consideration when judging a scent, but I also take into consideration the price. So sure, the bottle looks interesting enough, but not for the price. The set seems to also include, well, the scent in 100ml, a glass funnel, a hand-blown bottle, which I assume is an additional bottle into the one you're already getting, 2 refillable travel sprays, and a grey felt pouch. Otherwise, you can buy a refill for $503. You know, I've tried to do my research on this one, and I'm not really getting any clarity out of whether that 100ml does have an atomizer or not, but in reality, you're really just paying twice that for the bottle. So for 50ml, the $357 price tag, consisting of those natural ingredients, is kind of justifiable for the scent, but the projection and longevity just don't hit that mark for me. Even though you still get a pretty good average of 7 to 8 hours, for this price tag you expect something astronomical. At least 12 plus hours, or for it to be on my clothing for days on end, but unfortunately I did not get that effect. It does project pretty well for the first 4 hours, but after the 6-hour mark it becomes a tiny bit of a skin scent. I mean, I can make so many comparisons to different perfumes with a similar DNA that are powerhouses the entire day you wear them. So that mark is going to sit somewhere in the middle. From the note breakdown, I guess a lot of people may assume it's more of a masculine scent, but it does have this sense of mystery to it, and with the right personality, a woman can get away with it easy as well. With everything being said, it's not the most socially acceptable fragrance. It's definitely not something you're going to be able to wear at work. It would be quite distracting. It's just very heavy and cloying for a more so professional environment. It's definitely not a seductive date scent, but it's definitely personality in a bottle. I think this one would probably be for people maybe in their late 20s plus. It's definitely quite complex and obviously very high quality, even though that dry down becomes a tiny bit more linear. So it's definitely not the most wearable fragrance for all occasions. I'm only wearing my sample around the house. I find it quite soothing and comforting actually. And secondly, it's not the most financially accessible fragrance, let alone a socially acceptable one. This one's only been available in Australia very recently, so if you do have access to this brand, definitely check them out. As for some of the other offerings from the brand, I'm really not too excited about them. I mean, Ink was okay, Bergamot was not really justifiable for the price tag, and I haven't really smelled too many other ones, but for this one I can definitely give it reasonable marks. So if you're looking for something incredibly unique, which not a lot of people know about, and you really want to find your perfect, heavy, woody, ambery, smoky incense scent, then definitely consider smelling smoke. But anyway, that's for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.